What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy MogSwamp with another terraforming tutorial, and this time we're going to be doing a tutorial on how to make a mountain. And to switch things up, we're actually going to do this in survival mode because I need to build a mountain, so I can just kind of kill two birds with one stone here. So, as you can see, the very beginning step is already in progress, which is making a skeleton of your base, or excuse me, of your mountain. Now, one of the ways I go about planning exactly where I want the mountain to go is by utilizing the maps in the game. So as you can see, I've got a map here made of my world, and I went ahead and took a screenshot of this. And then I drew on top of the screenshot to figure out exactly how I want the mountain to look from above with a bird's eye view. And then I tried to match it as best as I could. And this was my first attempt here, and I actually went back and adjusted it to be a little bit skinnier to match my drawing. And just to show you guys what it looks like now, let's actually go ahead and update the map real quick. Alrighty, so we can see the updated map here with all of my lines starting to fill in. And what I'm doing is just basically creating a 3D skeleton that I will then go ahead and fill in. And you can see with the adjustments I made, I got a lot closer to my original drawing that I did on top of the screenshot. So when you're gonna go ahead and do your skeleton, just try and create little variations as best as you can to make it seem really organic. And don't be afraid to put little flat areas that will eventually become cliffs, like we did in our cliff tutorials. And really just try to make it as random and sort of natural as you can, because if you just build like a giant sort of pyramid or cone shape like this, it can get really boring. So you can see this mountain was actually created by pouring lava and water on top of each other in succession until I had a giant cobblestone mound. But the downside is that it looks very plain, so I've had to come in here with TNT to sort of add more variation to the more plain parts of the mountain. So I think I've said about all I can say without just showing you guys the process. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and build up this skeleton now. Alrighty guys, that did not take too long. I hope you enjoyed the time lapse. So as you can see, I have created just sort of a net or like a spider web of lines that help me visualize where all of the blocks are going to go when we fill this in. So the next step would basically be to just go and fill this all in with dirt. You don't have to go to this level of subdivisions as I did. If your mountain's a little more straightforward, or if you just have a very good idea of how you want things to go, you can definitely do less subdivisions. But I find that it's a good way to create variation. You'll notice that on these lines going across, I've put in like little wiggles and divots, and that's the stuff that's going to start to inform the mountain's shape once you start filling this all in, because the next row above here is going to follow this same curve, and you'll end up getting some really natural looking variations so that you're not just going straight diagonally up. And you'll notice once in a while I'll put in cliffs like this. So if we fly over here, I've got this one part that's straight like that, so we can do a little overhang and have a more steep part of the mountain. And I've got a bunch of cliffy areas over here. If I stand down here, you can sort of tell that I've mapped out a cliff very similar to what we did in our cliffs tutorial. But again, you can add less subdivisions, more subdivisions. You can go really crazy with it. Whatever is most helpful to you to be able to visualize the shape of this mountain. And for this particular mountain, I think the level that I chose is just about perfect. I'm very confident now that I can go in and fill this in, and I'll have a really good idea of where all the blocks need to go. This next step is gonna take a long time. Honestly, it's something I enjoy a lot in this game, and hopefully you guys can find some enjoyment in this process as well. So I'll do a little bit more time lapsing just so you can sort of see how I go about filling in these little sections here. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy. All right, so diving into the time lapse here, we're just gonna go line by line or level by level and connect the two sides together of these little shapes we've laid out for ourselves. And sometimes it helps to pick like a cluster to work on. You'll see I'm working in this one little alleyway going all the way up to the top there. I recommend flying away frequently just so you can get like a bird's eye view and make sure everything looks nice and organic. And I will just say that this is sort of an endgame project, so you're gonna wanna make sure you have an elytra, a shovel with mending on it, probably efficiency 5, and all the shulker boxes you need, because otherwise it's just gonna take forever. So whenever you run out of dirt, go mine a couple shulker boxes full, and then fly back, and it'll just make it a lot faster. When I get bored of placing dirt, sometimes I like to work on these cliffs, and you can see I'm hiding lights in there with the moss carpet. And the cliffs are just something that breaks up the terrain really, really well. I recommend checking out the cliffs tutorial we did and just seeing the tips we had in there. And you can see I'm breaking it up even further by just sort of using like a beachy base for these cliffs, which gives it sort of like a more tropical feel. And I even build a palm tree in a second here just to give this part of the cliffs a more beachy feel. For the more steep parts of the mountain, you'll notice I definitely place like stone, andesite, cobble, even a little bit of basalt and acacia to sort of make it feel more rocky. And yeah, I would recommend doing that anywhere where the dirt would otherwise be too tall. So in other words, if you've got any sections of dirt that are 2 blocks tall, you can knock out the bottom block and replace it with any one of those blocks from your stone color palette. This is one of the more tedious processes. You can see here I'm spreading moss with bone meal, and then I have to go back in once I've got a really big patch and clear out some of the grass and the bushes, because by default it's just a little bit too much. And a way to speed that up is by pouring water like you can see there. It just clears it all out nice and quickly for you. So then I go back to working on the backside here, which is a little bit steeper, so you'll notice it's a little bit rockier. We're replacing our too tall dirt with the rocks, as you can tell. And when it gets nighttime, sometimes I like to take a break, just go light things up with glowstone, because eventually the mobs get really annoying. So you can see I'm placing the glowstone there and then hiding it under the moss carpets, which is a really great effect. And yeah, I'll show you a little bird's eye view here. It's pretty satisfying to watch, but you can just sort of see the way I go back and forth, almost like a 3D printer, and just fill this mountain in. And again, I just recommend flying away as much as you can to get a fresh perspective on it. Make sure everything looks organic, nothing looks too awkward, or you don't have any weird like sharp bends in the mountain that just look unnatural. But other than that, yeah, it's just very helpful to work in those clusters, like I said. Top to bottom sometimes, or bottom to top, and wherever the mountain starts to get really steep, you can just build in one of those cliffs to break it up a little, and I think it's a really nice effect. You can totally make your mountain a little bit rockier than mine, but I was just going for a sort of grassy effect. I'm gonna put spruce trees on there, and I think it's gonna look really cool. Man, this looks so sick. Yeah, this is awesome. So yeah, you can see the end result here. There's obviously a bunch more work I can do, a bunch more work to do. Like I said, I want this to sort of be a forested, grassy mountain. You can do a way more rocky mountain, and let me just show you sort of over here what I'm talking about. This area I wanted to be a little bit stripped bare, just a more rockier area of the mountain. You could feasibly do a whole mountain like this, just using the same block palette. And if I sort of fly away, you can almost envision how that would look to just do a whole mountain in this style. But for what I'm going for, I just want certain areas to be a little bit rocky, but mainly I wanted a super grassy, almost hilly mountain. And we're going to cover it with spruce trees. I'll show you the mountains I previously built in this world over here, which have a good amount of those custom spruce trees on them. And this is about what I'm going for, maybe a little bit more dense than this, but yeah, we'll put little buildings on it. For the most part, this is done. Again, just got to go back in with the moss, finish lighting everything up. And then there's also the shore. Eventually, I want to dig this all down and make like a proper lake bed for all of this. And so obviously we're going to need to transition from this grass into the seabed, and there will probably be a little beach area and a shore. I'm going to try and do some rocky shores along this thing. But I wanted to keep this tutorial a little bit straightforward because all those other details I'm talking about are sort of specific to me and this mountain and what I'm going for. And I wanted this to be more of a general guide that you could sort of fit to your style of mountain. So maybe you have a rockier mountain, or you're doing some crazy color palette stuff, or maybe it's like a volcanic sort of mountain. I don't know. I don't judge. I just wanted to keep this super open-ended so that you could sort of apply your own flair and your own block palette to it. And yeah, do it how you want it. Make it your own. Guys, before we end the tutorial, let's go ahead and update our map here so that we can see what all that hard work looks like from above. So let's go ahead and let's see. I'll look right at the green dot and switcheroo. Ta-da! Dang, that looks really cool. Yeah, this is so cool. Wow. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks for joining me on this little adventure. And yeah, if you liked seeing this world, check out my super flat survival Let's Play. It's on this world, and I've been working on it for a very long time. So yeah, check that out. And otherwise, just look forward to more terraforming tutorials. Definitely leave a comment if you have any questions at all, or if you have an idea of a tutorial you want to see in the future. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. All right, guys. See you on the next one. Later.